Creating an upscale ambience in your home does not have to cost a fortune. With a focus on smart design principles and attention to detail, you can achieve a refined and expensive look on a budget. In this video, we'll go through 10 tips that will help you transform your home into a space that feels both sophisticated and inviting. I'm putting this first because I think it's the most important idea that sets the foundation for everything else. For a space to look expensive or for it to exude that feeling of luxury, it has to be well thought out. These spaces are never slapped together overnight. It is not about the cost, because you can make a space look expensive on a budget, and conversely, you can slap all the expensive materials together but end up with something gaudy. There's a saying, money can't buy taste. I mean, just have a look at the amount of tacky Mac mansions there are out there. It is about making sure that the elements you've chosen work in harmony, not merely choosing what is expensive, because having that balance and harmony is what makes for a cohesive space. Now we have this out of the way, let's get into the technical and practical advice. To make your home look expensive, incorporate one or two standout elements that create a lasting impression. A wow factor could be anything from a striking piece of artwork to a grand chandelier or a beautiful fireplace, or even something as simple as a unique lamp. These elements will draw your attention and serve as focal points which will elevate the overall aesthetic of your space. For example, a stunning piece of art in your living room will not only add a touch of sophistication but can also reflect your personal taste. Similarly, a luxurious chandelier in the dining room can instantly enhance a room's elegance. A quick tip of mine is to go for a matted frame as it tends to make art look more high-end, or a shadow box floating frame for a canvas. Notice how big of a difference a canvas is with and without the frame. Again, the details do matter here. A huge vase with arrangements is another way to get that wow factor on a budget, because you can style them in many different ways, whether it is to add some color or to add some height and movement to a surface. You can also do this with a statement plant. They look especially great tucked in a corner to add some height and organic touch, but they can be quite expensive. A few that I really like at the moment are the black olives and songs of India, or the everyday like rubber plant and fiddle figs, which I know are a bit boring and overused, but they're popular for a reason. I probably sound like a broken record by now, but lighting is such an important thing that does make a space look expensive. Apart from the standard advice of layering ambient, dusk, and accent on top of ceiling light, these two lighting tricks can instantly make a space look more expensive. Firstly, strategically place spotlights or wall washers. An easy option is placing one next to a huge artwork, but they can also be placed on empty walls or used to highlight a display, shelving, or other objects. I also like having spotlights angled upwards at a feature plan, which creates a really interesting shadow play. Many high-end hotels, galleries, and residential homes employ this technique, but it is something that is not often found in everyday homes, as builders tend to resort to recessed downlights as they're cheaper to install. Secondly, diffuse and hidden LED strips, but this has to be done right. Keyword here is diffuse. A bare LED light strips where you can see the individual LED dots actually looks cheap as it is unfinished. It also has to be installed flush against the surface, but when done properly, it works wonders to highlight a feature, accentuate surface texture, or just function as task lighting. I'll also be mindful about where and how it is used. An LED strip in a traditional home to light up a hallway is probably going to look out of place. Now going back to standard lighting advice, I noticed that many people seem to lack mood lighting in their home. I like to aim for 3 to 5 light sources outside of ceiling lights, and potentially even more on really big rooms. In order to add more lamps, look for surfaces like a console, side table, or credenza, or an empty corner which is perfect for a floor lamp. Wall sconces are good too if you're short on flat surfaces. A touch of high-end can instantly elevate a space, and it doesn't have to be all over. This could be marble, solid wood, stones, leather, or textured fabric. Little pieces like bookends, vases, trays, cushions, or side tables are a great way to sprinkle in these materials and add a touch of luxury to your space. They're also easy to bring and move around, which means you can use them in many different ways. Another tip I want to add is to remember to vary your texture, especially when it comes to textiles. The reason why matching furniture sets look cheap is because they are all made from the same material and all have the same silhouette. You can make a neutral room look interesting, but it is very hard to make a room with no variety in texture to look interesting. So, layer and mix and match them in order to create a rich and sophisticated look. While on the topic of textiles, make sure that your cushions are full and fluff, because it does make a huge difference versus ones that are flat and loose. Again, the detail does matter here. If you're buying the cover and insert separately, an easy and cheap trick is to just go one size up on the inserts so that it fits tightly inside the cover. Even polyester inserts will look full when you do this. Window treatments take up such a large surface area, which means it has a big impact on a room. There's so many to choose from and it all depends on your preference. There's no right or wrong answer. But what is important is hanging them right and making sure they are full and plush. Curtains especially are easy to get wrong, whether it is hung too short, which makes the ceiling look lower, too narrow, which covers the windows and natural light, or simply not wide enough so the fabric is pulled taut over the windows. This will instantly look cheap no matter how the rest of your space looks. The secret to luxurious looking curtains is making sure they have deep ripples when drawn across. This is done by making sure that the fabric is roughly 2 times the width of the window. And if you're buying ready-made like IKEA, you can simply buy double the amount and stack 2 on each side. This will immediately increase your curtain's volume and make your home look that much more expensive. Next is hanging them high and wide. This means placing your track close to the ceiling and having your curtains drop all the way to the floor. This will make your space feel much bigger and taller. I have a whole video on hanging curtains if you want to dive deep into the exact measurements. Another great tip is layering your window treatments. For example, a recessed fit roller blind with a sheer curtain in front. This will give you the flexibility to control light however you want. If you want more texture, Roman shades with a curtain in front is another popular combo. I have a whole video about window treatments if you want to dive deeper into this. A cohesive color palette can also make your home look more expensive, as it will create a harmonious look. Some people are adamant that an expensive color scheme is always neutral, but it can be vibrant, muted, or neutral. It doesn't really matter as long as it is well thought out and cohesive. The key is to have each color repeated multiple times in different shades and across different materials. If you take this room for example, which is mostly neutral, look at how many times they have repeated green in various different shades, and also different variants of brownish red from the leather, books, and sofa. Or if you take this room, which has much more color going on, every single hue is picked up multiple times in different doses and on different materials. This simple rule makes your accent color looks intentional and balanced. Similarly, you'll typically want to take a color or two from the same room and repeat it in different rooms, whether it is through an accent or primary piece. This idea ties in with the red thread concept, which ensures that each room flows seamlessly into the next, resulting in a unified and luxurious feel throughout your home. I have a video where I go into much more detail about how you can weave the red thread concept in your home. I think we can all agree that a clean and organized home immediately looks more expensive. And it's really hard to create an intentional look if you're holding on to too many decor that don't work. Ideally, everything in a room should have a place and a role, not in an unpretentious way, but my rule is to only have things out if they're either functional, which means there is a use for it, or beautiful, which means they're nice to look at and contribute to the look and feel of the room, or sentimental, which means they're meaningful to you, like a family photo. If they're neither of these three, like say those anal beads I see everywhere, then maybe consider keeping it hidden in a closed storage or donated. Similarly, if you have a piece of furniture that you don't like, see if you can let it go rather than trying to force it in a room. I usually like to sell them so I can get some money back to fund a new piece, and maybe look for an affordable or thrifted piece in a shape and color that better suits your space. Another big thing is cable clutter, which is inevitable with all the electronics we have nowadays. If the first thing you notice when entering a living room is a tangle of wires under the TV, then it really doesn't matter how beautiful the rest of the room is. I personally use cable boxes around the house. They're pretty cheap and do a great job in hiding all the ugly power strips. Plus, it is easier to clean and dust as well. For cables on the wall, you can simply use cable covers to hide them, or even paint them to your wall color so they blend in even more. Otherwise, you can always get an electrician to run the cables behind the walls for you. Adding softness to your home can make it look more expensive by creating a more inviting atmosphere. I find that a lot of modern spaces suffer from an overabundance of hard and cold materials, like glass, MDF, and metal, which makes it lack warmth. Consider swapping out some of these elements for softer surfaces or adding soft layers. This could be choosing an upholstered ottoman instead of a square coffee table, or even something as simple as draping a throw blanket over an accent chair. Remember to also vary the material and texture. There's so many to choose from, so I highly encourage you to use a few of them. It is not just physically hard things, but also too many hard linear shapes and lines like squares and rectangles that can make a space feel monotonous. Try to introduce some rounded or organic shapes for a more inviting and expansive look. This could be in anything from furniture to art to decor. If you're feeling stuck with decorating your home, check out our Secrets to a Beautiful Home Guide and Decorating Checklist, which you can download for free here or in the description, to help you get on the right track when decorating your home. Molding, millwork, ceiling medallions, and curved stairways are a few examples of architectural features that scream expensive or luxury. If your home features any of these examples, keep them. Unfortunately, for most of us living in new built or cookie cutter homes, there aren't beautiful architectural features that we can preserve, but you can always DIY or get them professionally done to make your home look more expensive. Amazon and Home Depot, for example, have ready-made kits that you can get on a budget. Even a simple refresh of your doors or updating that dated window trims can have a massive impact on a space. I've put this one as one of my last points, as I recognize that renovating isn't always an option. But if you want to go above and beyond, it is a great way to make your home look more expensive. Study your favorite designers and high-end hotels. What color schemes do they use? What materials are they using? Take note of these materials, furniture shapes, ambience, and room layouts. What are the common denominators and what resonates with you on a personal level? These are the things you should be shopping for and the looks you should be trying to recreate in your own space. For example, you could have a space that is layered and lived in, which looks high-end. And on the opposite spectrum, have a very bare minimalist interior that also looks high-end. You may like one but hate the other, or prefer something in between. From my personal experience, one thing I often notice is scent. It could be a diffuser, reed, candles, or anything, but having a signature scent always seems to elevate a room. If you enjoyed this video, check out this video where I talked about how to make your home look cohesive, and this video where I talked about design trends that are badly done. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.